there's been a host of injuries this past season that have derailed the potential for amazing seasons for players and teams. Injuries are a part of the game of basketball, but this season just seems like there's been so many random injuries to important players, causing their teams to take a major dip in the wins column and also causing players to miss awards that they would have been eligible for if they got to play the specific amount of games required.
Over 90% of the people that watch my content are not subscribed, so if you're messing with the videos, please hit that sub button and the noti bell so you'll get notified every time I upload. But let's get back to the hoops.
I want to start small here and talk about a player who is on a team that maybe wouldn't have really done so hot in the first place even if he did play, but he is a very important piece to that team, and that player is Jaylen Johnson. This season averaging 19 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. Jaylen Johnson added an entirely new element to this Hawks team that they did not previously have. His level of shot creating has definitely improved a bunch, and his athleticism has always been through the roof. So now that he's getting more looks, more minutes, more lobs from Trae Young, Jaylen Johnson looks super effective. He was easily my pick for most improved player this year. There was a decent portion of the season where he was up over 20 points per game. He's back down to 19, but I can definitely have seen him stay over that 20 point per game mark if he played the rest of the games. Unfortunately, he suffered a torn labrum on January 29th, effectively ending his season, and along with the trade of DeAndre Hunter, pretty much left the Hawks with no second option and left Trae to fend for himself with like Dyson Daniels and Clint Capella and Onyeka Okongwu. Not a great squad. So that Jaylen Johnson injury, even though it was probably the smallest injury on this team, definitely is still important player, an important injury, a big loss for the Hawks. These next two injuries are very random and they're unavoidable, and I really hate that these players have to go through this. And the first player is Damian Lillard, averaging 25 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists. He helped the Bucks look like a real threat in the East. Last season they didn't really look as threatening, even though there's clearly holes in this team, and I don't think they are true contenders just as they are. They definitely can do some damage in the Eastern Conference, and teams like the Knicks, teams like the Pacers, I can even see them doing some damage potentially to the Celtics and Cavs if they're on their A game, but we're not really going to get that opportunity this season because of Dame having this injury. He's improved from last year. His counting stats improved, his percentages improved. So just to see how much better the Bucks were this year, in my opinion, than last year, you really do hate to see an injury like this, especially so late in the year. He suffered a blood clot in his groin on March 19th, and that'll likely derail any playoff hopes or any deep playoff runs that the Bucks were hoping to go for this year. They're hopeful for his return, but you never know with an injury like this. It's really random, so I feel like it's a player-by-player basis, but we'll see. Victor Wembanyama, averaging 25 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 blocks, and a steal, made this team look way more formidable than they have in the past, the recent past. This is not a team that we've expected to be competitive the past couple of years, but now that Wemby's really growing into his own as a second-year player, he honestly just made this team way better than they've looked in a pretty decent amount of time. Wemby was also poised to make an All-NBA team, potentially get a DPOY as a second-year player, and I just think that's incredible to see Wemby's growth and see how well this season did end up going, even though he struggled in the beginning of the year. The defensive upside goes crazy, his offensive upside is going crazy, and I really do wish that we could have seen Wemby play throughout the entire season and potentially seen him in the playoffs. He suffered a blood clot on February 20th, effectively ending the season for him and the Spurs, and reports say he feels okay currently, which is a great sign for next year, but he will not be returning for the remainder of the season, obviously, with the Spurs not really competing for anything. And joining Wemby on that IR list is his newly acquired teammate, De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox, averaging 24, 5, and 6, joined the Spurs team to make a duo with Wemby and really make this team look like a threat and look really dangerous, and we didn't really get the chance to see too much of that. I think when they were on the court together, they did look really good. When Wemby got hurt, De'Aaron did not look as good. The entire Spurs team did not look as good. So after Wemby got hurt, De'Aaron played as the lone star for a little bit, and then he opts to get surgery on his hand on March 13th. And I'm not too mad at that decision. I feel like your best player goes out, your team is clearly not competing for anything. I'm not sure De'Aaron is good enough to carry this squad as is and take them by himself to the playoffs. So being that he's had an injury that he's been dealing with the entire season, that he has been complaining about since the preseason, getting surgery on it now that the season is essentially over for you and your squad, I'm not against that. I'm not against that at all. The last two are whole teams. Now we got the 76ers, and I've been shitting on the Sixers the entire year, but honestly, having them be so bad was a major disappointment. I was expecting the 76ers to come in this season and be one of the better teams in the league and be one of those teams fighting for a top seed in the Eastern Conference. I feel like the East would be so much more interesting if the 76ers were good, but unfortunately, they are not. Embiid missed majority of the season, and leaving that big three without their centerpiece is obviously going to make them less effective. But to add insult to injury, the guy you just signed to this huge bag, took away from the Clippers, Paul George, he got hurt in the preseason, and that injury has clearly affected not only his ability to play basketball, but his ability to stay on the court. So this entire season really has been lost. They dug themselves a huge hole early in the year, and it was really not going to be realistic for them to dig themselves out of that hole and make a playoff run. The Sixers didn't really get much contribution from their stars. The real outstanding performances this season have been from Jared McCain, who also got injured very, very early in the season. He was probably going to win Rookie of the Year. That completely slipped my mind. Jared McCain as well, huge injury. Was probably going to be Rookie of the Year, most likely between him and Stephen Castle, but Jared McCain was on a different level to start the year, so I can only imagine what he would have done as he progressively got more comfortable in the NBA. Tyrese Maxey standout, he missed a decent amount of time as well, but not nearly as much time as Embiid and Paul George. And then Quinn Grimes, who they got at the trade deadline, another standout. But the fact that I can't really point to many games where I go, yeah, Embiid went off this year or Paul George went off this year, but those are still two of your top three players, and to see them not play, not have any significant impact for the majority of the season is very disappointing, especially with the expectations that not only I, but I feel like everybody had for the 76ers this year. I already made a whole video on the Mavericks, so I'm not going to harp on this too much, but the Mavs, obviously AD, Lively, Gafford, Washington all get hurt around the same time. So now you're left with a Mavs roster that's just being led by Kyrie. Luka obviously got traded already, and the guy who the focus all turns to in Kyrie Irving ends up tearing his ACL, and that makes it pretty much a dud. This Mavs season is pretty much going to be a dud going forward. Going into a season with such high expectations based on what we did last year to make this trade to bring in AD, for AD to get hurt, and then for us to be waiting for AD to come back, and then Kyrie goes out. We're not going to get him back until next March. Very, very unfortunate. I feel like Kyrie was likely going to make an All-NBA selection this year with his play. He's been super, especially with Luka out. He's definitely taken the reins as the #1 option over the regular season, and he's looked really good in that slot. Obviously, there is some nights with a little less efficiency, trying to adjust to having defenses double him at half court since he's the only ball handler, and he hasn't been asked to do that very often since he's been on the Mavericks, being that Luka was here. But he went into that role and he was really, really good. With all those injuries, no Luka, the Mavs season pretty much caps out at praying for a chance at making the playoffs, which I guess is better than what the Sixers are currently in right now, which is just nothing. And I don't even believe that they have their picks either. So I'd rather be in the Mavs position than the Sixers position right now. But either way, another team that had a lost season, a crazy amount of injuries on this roster, and they never really got the chance to get off the ground after they got off to a hot start earlier in the season, which is unfortunate, but it's just how the cookie crumbled this year. I don't want to be a negative Nancy and try to make it seem like there's not good basketball being played. Shea, he's playing the best basketball of his career. He looks amazing, one of the best ISO scorers I've ever seen. Jason Tatum, right after his championship year, coming out looking really strong. Giannis Antetokounmpo is one of the most underrated players in NBA history. I feel like he comes out every year and puts up 30 and 10, makes it look effortless. Obviously, we got Jokic. Luka missed a lot of time over the year, but now that he's back in the game, he's clearly a top 5 player in the league, like very easily. LeBron having a MVP caliber type of season. I think he's top 5 in MVP right now. KD, even though the Suns suck, KD's been putting up numbers. There's the Rockets. The Rockets are not a team that were on anybody's radar. They come out and they're looking crazy. The Grizzlies, even though Ja is not performing up to par because of the offensive system, he's not really accustomed to it. The Grizzlies are still really, really good. So yeah, there's a lot of great basketball being played. There's a lot of things to be looking forward to going into the playoffs, but I just feel like all these injuries do kind of sour what could have been such an amazing season. Obviously, injuries are a part of the game. I'm not expecting to go through a season with no injuries, but I feel like this year and last year have been super excessive, and we're missing out on a lot of matchups because of those injuries, and you hate to see that. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you did not enjoy the video, please subscribe, because you will enjoy the next one, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.